Today I'm going to talk a little bit about baseball. And there's a lot to say about baseball from when we were kids. I mean, baseball was life itself. But anyhow, a lot to say about the national pastime. For the kids of Ransomville growing up, it was way more than a pastime. There was a time when a good bunch of us skipped high school to have a baseball game. Turns out the only spectator we had behind the fire hall was the guidance counselor from high school. Apparently it seemed strange to him that all the kids from Ransomville, well, not all the kids, but a majority of the boys from Ransomville were all sick on the same day. That's suspicious. But anyhow, it was a fun day, and we had a good time. The punishment wasn't that severe. But anyhow, I have jumped ahead. My earliest memories of baseball was playing at Johnson's restaurant. A small yard was plenty of space. A very refined ballpark it was. First base was a tree. Second base was a fire hydrant. Third base was a telephone pole. Home plate and the pitcher's mound were nothing more than a bare patch of dirt caused by much abuse from kids. A lot like Yankee Stadium in our minds. But let's see. Anyhow, our town had no organized sports of any kind for kids. No pee-wee football, no little league, no hockey rink, no nothing. The school had a gym, but it was only used during school hours. Eventually, school got a baseball diamond, sort of. Mostly mowed weeds and bumpy. A well-hit ground ball could be hazardous for the best of the infielders. I know from playing a lot at third base, I stopped many with my chest and various other body parts. I had the honor of playing with the first organized team that Ransomville ever fielded. Well, it turns out way back at the turn of the century, when it was like 1912 or something like that, there was a ball team. But I guess after the war broke out, the ball teams just everybody went to war. But anyhow, I'm not sure who the founding fathers were. I do remember General's Hardware and Gates Lumberyard donating baseballs for us. We got 2 brand new baseballs for every game that we played, and that was a big deal for us kids. In fact, if it gets too noisy here, I'm not going to publish this because it's pretty breezy here in New Mexico today, and I've got an awning up here, canvas, like a boat sail. Anyhow, it's flapping and banging around pretty heavy. But anyhow, I'll redo this so I have to. But anyhow, like I said, there was no pee-wee football, no little league, no hockey rink, no nothing. And eventually the school got a baseball diamond, sort of, and that's where I took all the ground balls in the face and everywhere else. That's why I'm not pretty. No, that's not it. I had the honor of playing in the first organized team that Ransomville ever fielded. I'm not sure, but Gates and Generals provided us baseballs. And that was, to us kids, that was a really big deal. Playing with a brand new baseball, that's pretty awesome, I'm telling you. But anyhow, I'm touching my face. I'm not supposed to be doing that. I just had my mask on a minute ago. But anyhow, what an exciting time. We would practice for hours and hours. Then we'd go to the baseball practice and practice more. We knew we were going to be tough. Then it happened. Our first game was to be a practice game in the city. Are we going to play a team from Niagara Falls? Yes. Oh boy. Let me say right there, this was a time when you were not good enough. Tough luck, kid. Try again next year. No trophy that said played, and everyone got one, and no one chance, and no five run rule either. Can't talk. Our pitcher, we went to the game. And I remember two things from that game. First was my friend Paul catching a line drive. Bam, caught. Huh, that's simple. That was a highlight. Can you spell child abuse? The team we were playing for, Niagara Falls, scored 17 runs in the first inning. Our pitcher didn't have his good stuff that day. But anyhow, so from the very beginning, we started improving. Not surprising, we could not have gotten any worse. We were bad. We even had a team bus of sorts for a period of time. Safarian's garbage company loaned us one of their trucks for a team bus. It was a big open-sided box, top with no top on it or anything, and all us kids would pile into the back of the garbage truck, and our coach would drive us to a different town for a ball game. Well, and anyhow, the Safarian Sanitary Service let us use this, and we started winning some games. Maybe it was because we scared the hell out of the other team when our team come piling out of a garbage truck to play ball. I wish I'd give anything if I would have had movies of that. But if there is movies, I don't know where they are. I think my dad might have taken some movies of us kids playing, but if they are, I don't know where. And all his films got corroded, and it was bad. But anyhow, we started winning games, and so anyhow, for most of the trip, we in the back of the team bus, we had to keep our eyes closed from all the debris and dirt blowing around back there. But it was life. It was life itself, and I mean, us kids, we didn't care. Just let us play ball. That's all we wanted. And my dad had a big influence on my baseball playing. I would always tell him where we were playing and where it was, asking him if he was coming, and got no reply. Yet by the second or third inning, I would see my dad standing in the spectators. That was the good news. The bad news was when I would make an error, I knew what was coming. Rather, I should say, I knew what was going. Just a glance, and I would see my dad walking to the parking lot. Man, that hurt. It surely made me play harder, that's for sure. And anyhow, when I was still real small, my parents took me on a train trip to go to Cleveland to see a baseball game. Actually, two baseball games, doubleheader, Yankees and the Cleveland Indians. Wow. I remember walking out through the ramps to go out to our seats in the ballpark. I can still remember that. It looked to me like center field bleachers was a half a mile away. It was unbelievable. And anyhow, when the teams came out to warm up, I couldn't believe it. There stood a player or a coach standing by their dugout, hitting fly balls to the outfielders, who were strolling around the outfield, talking to one another. And these fly balls flew higher and further than any baseball I've ever seen hit. I couldn't believe it. And the guy was hardly ever swinging. And Dad explained it was because they were using what's called a fungo bat. And I said, oh wow, can I get one? The answer is no, they're illegal for regular play. We sat in seats behind home plate in the upper deck looking straight down the first baseline. That's like the baseball fields out here. We were looking that way. And in the second game, Mickey Mantle came up to bat, and he was batting left-handed. So that means he was trying to hit towards right field. And sometime in the second game, he got a pitch that he liked, and boy, did he unload it. Woo! I swear that ball was still going up when it into the right field stands. I can still see it. It's amazing. But even though he was a Yankee playing against the Indians, he got a standing ovation for that one. After a few years, I started to pitch some games. We're back in Ransomville now. And anyhow, about Mickey Mantle hitting this booming home run, and he broke my heart because later in life he drank himself to death, and it was terrible. But anyhow, I started to pitch after a few years in the juniors, and my dad learned that I was pitching. So one day my dad came home from work, and he had a new catcher's mitt. And every evening, not every evening, but almost every evening, we would go out in the side yard, and I would pitch to my dad. And he says, but the same way with me making an error on the field, if I threw one wild pitch, my dad would get up and say, time to go in. And it hurt, but it made me work harder. And anyhow, our team played together for through a couple of different divisions. And by the end of it, we were a force to be dealt with, winning way more games than we lost. I mean, we were getting quite good, really. Then it was off to high school. Wow, real uniforms, unbelievable. And what a big deal that was. I got to be the starting center fielder for Wilson High School, and I was one proud Lake man. And anyhow, I got to be the starting center fielder, and I wore number 7, Mickey Mantle's number. Man, that was big. Big. And Coach Hutch, that's Mr. Walter Hutchinson, he was a great mentor to me. He must have thrown 1,000 curveballs at me until I learned to hit them. The athletic fields at Wilson High School are now named after him. He was that kind of guy. And there's this picture in the book. But anyhow, then it was from there, it was on to the United States military decided I should come play with them. So, and when I got there in the military, I got an invite, actually. I guess it was in my dossier or resume or whatever you want to call it, that I played a lot of baseball. So I got invited to the base training camp in San Antonio, Texas. And I said, wow, what a great deal. No basic training for while I was there at the baseball tryouts. And it says, I was at tryouts for about an hour, chasing down fly balls others couldn't get to. I was running my ass off. I wanted to make this team. Batting practice, it's my turn. I'm pounding out the hits. This is looking good for me. Another guy steps in for his turn, and I'm behind the backstop, watching this guy swing. And I got to meet about 5 of the team regulars. Cool. Not cool. They informed me that I would not make the team. You see, if I made the team, one of their friends goes bye-bye. And they said, we'll do whatever it takes. We'll break your arm if we have to. And these guys were for real. I mean, is that clear? Understood. I decided not to return for the second day of tryouts, even though I made the first cut. I wanted to be a rocket scientist anyhow. So that kind of ends the story of my baseball career, which wasn't that much. Although later, when my boys started growing up, I did quite a bit of coaching in the little leagues and stuff like that. And then I played for probably right around 10 years of softball with my boys on the same team. And that was cool. But anyhow, that's just another episode from my book, and some of that's in there in the book, some of it's not. There's more in the book actually than I told you about. But anyhow, it was cool. So, like always, just remember, wherever you go, there you are. So, anyhow, goodbye.